Hello, I'm Reynard from Tangelo Fox. Today on Travels, I will be showing you one of my favorite hikes from the Grand Lake East Inlet Trailhead. Before you go, you should know that it is technically part of Rocky Mountain National Park, so you need to reserve your entry online, which has a $2 fee in addition to the National Park Pass for the day. You can do so by scanning this QR code. Now, being a hike, there are some dangers involved, so please, be careful and be prepared before you go. Now, just so you know, this is what the entrance looks like. So this is going to be the very beginning of the hike. This is the East Inlet Trailhead. And, this way you can see exactly what it looks like and know you're going to the right place, at least if you're trying to find this exact same hike. I really like this one. It's a kind of an interesting entrance, actually. I'm not sure I've seen this elaborate of kind of a fence on, on one of these before, but it's pretty fun, and it definitely makes it really easy to tell that it is indeed the start of it. It's also, kind of already a very pretty area just right off the bat. Got lots of beautiful trees, and this is recorded pretty early in the day. I believe I got there right around 6:30 or 7 in the morning or so, and you can kind of see just, the sun rising and all that fun stuff. Now, if you're going during the winter, you should be aware that this place does get a little icy sometimes. This was recorded here in September, so not usually super icy. It was actually a beautiful 71 degrees by the midday time, but it was pretty chilly right when I got there. It was just a hair over freezing, so light jacket, not a bad idea to have. Now, coming up here, I'm going to show you kind of the view from right at this entrance point. The cool thing about this area is it's just absolutely gorgeous the second you come in. It's just a beautiful, beautiful area. And since it is right next to the bulk of Rocky Mountain National Park, you just get this really wonderful sense of being so far away from everything. You don't really hear very many cars or anything in the parking area, especially since they have the timed entry shared with the actual park. It's pretty calm. Now, right off the bat, I saw these deer. They were actually surprisingly close to the beginning of the hike. As always, don't approach them or anything, but they were super super cute. Looked like they had some kids with them. Foals, maybe? I don't remember exactly what they're called, but baby deers. Super super cute. I swear I'm gonna remember the name later. If it isn't foals, it probably is. Now, the main thing that I saw during this hike, which I stopped for quite a lot in order to record, it was mostly squirrels. So it was really nice seeing these deer right off the bat. Lick, 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 lick. So adorable. This is a pretty decent hike to see some wildlife. The locals tell me there hasn't been as much wildlife recently. Um, there were some fires in the area at some point. Now this one was pretty fun. You can see you can see some squirrels just kind of everywhere. You can probably hear Broccoli. She joins us every once in a while. That's my cat. She doesn't join us on the hikes, of course, simply on the voiceovers. Now, I did, stop and watch these squirrels for a pretty fair amount of time, and it was kind of interesting. There's a lot of stuff that you kind of learn, um, just sort of by watching them for a while. This one was very interesting. It seemed to be getting, I assume pine nuts out of these pine cones, but it seemed like there was an area that it liked to get pine cones from, and then always went back to this branch to bite them. So I'm not sure it's eating most of the pine cone, but I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to observe. Most of it was kind of like what you're seeing, just kind of ripping off little bits. I assume uh, that the squirrel is eating little bits of the pine cone here and there, but mostly it just kind of looked like ripping off pieces and throwing them out. Um, I believe I did do at least one more recording of it going back up to grab another pine cone from the same spot, as far as I could tell at least, and then coming back down, which was kind of interesting. Definitely not something that I thought that they would do. I kind of figured they would just get whatever pine cones were closest to them, but it definitely didn't seem to be the case. This is, of course, some sort of tree squirrel. I honestly don't remember what kind. There aren't that many squirrels here in Colorado. See, it kind of looks around a little bit and then goes back up to that same branch from before to grab another one, and then goes back to the to the eating branch in order to eat the pine cone. I thought this was kind of fascinating. Not something I expected, and kind of fun. Now, I did take a video of this area for a little while. I cut it short, of course. It's so pretty. This is Adams Falls, which is pretty early on in the hike. You can get there very quickly if you just kind of want to chill by the falls. There is a short wall, of course, but you can kind of just lean over and look and listen to it. It is just such a beautiful area. Now, there was quite a lot of flowing water, and everywhere that there's flowing water, there was these piles of foam. As you can see, it's mostly white. Obviously, it's a little dirty, but I kind of wonder what makes it, because it seems to be semi-permanent. Now, of course, this area is very green, very pretty. Right by all of the water, there's tons of moss and stuff and undergrowth, and it's just absolutely beautiful. That said, there are also mosquitoes, so be careful with that. Do consider wearing some sort of bug spray. There also were these little piles of bubbles here and there, just kind of at the edges. I'm kind of fascinated by these. I'm really curious what does it. Now here we have some flowers. I didn't want to waste too much time just looking at them, but they're, flowers. Now this one I believe to be a golden-mantled ground squirrel, very often confused for chipmunks, but you can tell them apart. They're a little bit bigger and they don't have stripes on their face. And the golden-mantled ground squirrels specifically, they do have these stripes down their back, which kind of look like a lighter tan followed by like a really dark brown before it reaches like the regular tan colors. Now this one I had to research because I mostly thought of squirrels as herbivores, which, generally you just kind of assume they just eat plants and stuff, or whatever seeds they can. This one actually got a grasshopper. So it was really weird how it was eating the grasshopper. But it was not something that I had ever seen or heard of before. Apparently, ground squirrels actually do eat bugs quite a lot. Now, the squirrels in these areas are pretty accustomed to people. Of course, please don't feed them, but I have the feeling they're accustomed to people in part from being fed. Now, a little shorter, further up the hike, there's this beautiful area here where you can just kind of see super, super far out, and it's right next to the slower part of the river. You can fish here. There are no dogs allowed on the trail, but there are horses allowed. But it does say that with proper permitting and stuff, you can do fishing in the area. I did see a few people fishing. I couldn't tell you if they caught anything. You can see my backpack there on the trail. Now from there I just kind of continued and just kind of wanted to show you what it would look like as you hike through. Now obviously, footage could only do so much. It's a whole different thing to go and experience the trail yourself. So please do go over there and take a look. It is such a beautiful, beautiful area. Now, these look like they were machine cut, I'm guessing to help prevent issues possibly coming from fires. But it's kind of nice because, so much of this hike you can just kind of stop and look around you and see all kinds of beautiful, interesting things. Obviously very nature-based, but lots of very, very pretty, just nature everywhere. I did a lot of stopping on this hike. This hike is actually surprisingly long, um, but obviously I was stopping to record and stopping to look for wildlife. Um, but you could easily spend all day on this hike if you really wanted to. Now, I'm sorry about the shaky footage. I was not expecting there to suddenly be a chipmunk in the middle of the path, but here's an actual chipmunk. You can tell by the stripes on the face. Now, I also just kind of thought these pine trees are really majestic. There's some of them are just absolutely enormous, and this is one of the bigger ones that I found, and I just thought it was kind of amazing because you don't think of pine trees usually as being too insanely big. Normally you think, oh yeah, it's like a Christmas tree. But I just thought this was amazing how big these get. Now this one I'm pretty sure is a tree squirrel of some kind. And then we have a chipmunk again. This one kept looking at me. It was kind of skittish, so I couldn't get super close or around the grass too much. But from what I understand, this is a lesser chipmunk, sometimes called a Colorado chipmunk, which is very convenient if you're here in Colorado, as far as identifying them. But these are very, very little, probably about half the size or so of the golden mantle ground squirrels that we saw a little bit earlier. These ones I didn't see attempting to eat any bugs, but lots of little planties. It was really cute. They're also very fast. This footage is not sped up in any way. They're very twitchy, very fast animals. Now this one was just kind of chilling while I was taking a quick break. I carry a lot of camera equipment with me, and before changing my setup a little, I was carrying way too much stuff, so I had to take frequent breaks. But this is the view from a little further up the trail where I was taking a break. You can actually see little evidence of fish in the water here and there, sometimes kind of jumping up a little bit. But yeah, it's just a beautiful place. A little higher up from here, from where you can see just miles out of just beautiful country forests, It is just such a pretty area. I can't recommend this trail enough. Now, up next is what I believe to be a butterfly, but I don't know my bugs very well, so please, let me know in the comments if you know what kind of bug this is. I do believe to be some sort of butterfly. It could be a moth of some kind. But yeah, it's coming up in a second here. Frankly, I thought this, I thought I went a little faster through the view, but it's just so majestic. You kind of get lost in it, when you're out there. So yeah, look at that. So I saw a few of these kind of walking around. They're very, very fuzzy on their back, which was kind of interesting. You'll also notice that their wings are very moth colored on the underside, which I don't know. I've never really paid that much attention to the underside of butterfly wings. This one was kind of just walking around a lot, and I didn't have my monopod set up or anything. If I recall correctly, I was kind of on my knees when I was recording this one. So I apologize about the shakiness, but it was very interesting seeing these just kind of walking around a little bit here and there, and they of course flew away if you got really close. But it didn't quite feel like a butterfly. I want to say it might be some sort of moth. But again, if you do know what it is, please let me know in the comments below, because it'd be cool to know. I would really appreciate that. Now, coming up next is this. You've probably seen something similar before. These are logs that have had termites go through them, typically below the bark. But I just thought this specific one looked really, really cool. It almost looks like runic markings. This little bit here almost looks like a pictogram. Like I could totally see this on a cave painting or something, Now, there is some elevation change on this hike. I would consider it a relatively easy hike, but probably towards the higher end of relatively easy, a little closer to the medium difficulty. There is a fair bit of elevation change. Luckily, quite a bit of it is kind of like this. It is an improved trail, and they've done a really, really good job with it. So some of it that is steeper like this is basically going upstairs. So do be prepared for a fair amount of going up and going down. But the cool thing about the East Inlet trailhead is that from there, most of the hike is up, which means that by the time you're tired and you want to return, most of the hike is down, and therefore a little easier and less strenuous in terms of getting back from the end of the hike. So please definitely watch your step. But as you can see, there's just beautiful, beautiful greens just everywhere that you look, and it makes the entire hike really, really pleasant. The other thing is, because it is metered entrance, this does typically not have super, super many people. So it feels really calm and you don't run into too many people. So it almost feels like you're out there alone, just kind of enjoying nature itself. I did stop to do quite a few of these panoramic, you know, videos, just kind of looking around and seeing what the view is, because it's amazing. Like right here in the middle, you can see the city of Grand Lake, or its town. But everywhere you go, you can just kind of be like, let me just stop here and take a quick look and just see the incredible beauty of the entire area. And most of this place you can just see out for miles and miles, and it is absolutely beautiful. And it's hard to describe even with video. Now, as I mentioned, there are quite a lot of very friendly squirrels. Obviously, don't feed them. I think this one was looking for me to give them food. But there's my foot, so you can see she got really close. I was trying to not scare her by spinning in place rather than shifting my feet while turning. Um, Very brave little one. Uh, I want to say it's a golden mantled as well. Very cute little squirrel. Every once in a while, I did stick out my hand just to try to see if she would try to grab something out of it. I didn't have anything in my hand, of course. Um, so I don't know if she's been hand fed before or if people just give her food, but I have the feeling that this squirrel is used to being fed by hikers, which is definitely not something you're supposed to do. Look at this curious little thing. So cute with a little wiggly nose. Now this one was definitely the bravest one of them all. There was a chipmunk that got relatively close, but this squirrel definitely was the bravest in coming over and actually hung out with me for several minutes, just partially because I don't mind, sitting for a little while and recording a squirrel coming up to me and being friendly. So depending on how quickly you want to get through the hike, or if you want to get more exercise versus more rest, I don't mind the rest, especially when I'm carrying heavy equipment. So for me, sitting down for a little bit and watching this squirrel and seeing how close she wanted to get, it was a good break. And frankly, just I love seeing adorable little creatures like this. One of the main reasons I go on hikes is to try to find wildlife, and this one was quite a treat. Now I thought she was gonna leave at this point, because I was like, oh, okay, well, she probably realized I'm not gonna give her anything. She's like, all right, bye. But yeah, it turned out she still wanted to hang out for a fair while longer. Look how close she got. This I found absolutely fascinating. I don't think I've ever had a squirrel get that close to me before. Obviously, they know human beings aren't going to hurt them in these trails, but this is a little bit ridiculous. After a while, I think she figured out I wasn't going to give her any like food, so decided, you know what? I'm just going to just eat whatever this is. It looked like some sort of grain, obviously naturally occurring. But I thought it was really, really cute. Look at these little things. Like, alright, well, now that I've been cute, please give me some foods. Now this one was a tree squirrel that I saw just kind of hanging out by a rock. It's kind of interesting. Looked like she was going to come over. I was like, wait, really? So I believe this is a red squirrel, kind of a grayer version of one. They do have gray color morphs fairly often from what I understand, but I might be wrong. It could also be a fox squirrel. They're both kind of endemic to the area. Now, certain areas here get even greener and greener, and this one was a little dark just from how much shade that it had, but I thought it was really, really pretty. It's easily one of my favorite parts to walk through on this hike. And I figured, you know what, I'd love to share this with everybody around. This area, it's a decent bit in to the hike. As you saw, I had to increase the brightness as I was going through because it was getting darker and darker as I passed through. Um, it is a really nice, pretty area. Just really kind of makes you feel at one with the forest. This footage was very shaky, that's why you're getting little bits of blur here and there. That's the stabilization kicking in. That's hopefully going to get better over time as I improve. Now this also leaves you right next to the river. Like several other parts of the trail, here where it's flowing faster, you get to hear some beautiful sounds. So some of these I've left in so that you can hear them. Eventually I will release a just audio track of the rivers just going through. I did leave a recorder in an area for a while. That's going to take me a little while to edit, as I'm not that versed on audio editing, but look out on the website, and I will eventually have that available here as well. But as you can see, the water is perfectly clear and beautiful, nice and crisp. Probably shouldn't drink it directly, but it is a beautiful, beautiful area. And I know it kind of almost looks like you could continue the path that way, but there's no way of crossing on this side, so I'm pretty confident you're not supposed to cross the river at this point. Now I did see a bird. I actually saw surprisingly few birds during this time. So there's one over here. I couldn't tell you what it is. I am really terrible at birds. Again, if you know, I would appreciate it. There's also this plant here that I thought was really cool looking. It's got like these huge red berry looking things on them. A friend of mine told me it might be three-leaved sumac, but asked me to confirm in such a way that I would not have known. Now I believe this is the same, I want to say moth / butterfly as the previous one, but look at that. When the wings open, the color seeps through, which I thought was really cool. But until then, it looks just like a dry leaf. It just looks like part of the tree, which I thought was really, really cool. It's such an insane form of camouflage, but then can also show you such beautiful colors. I thought that was really, really cool. This also showcased just how fuzzy their backs are. It is insane how much, I want to call it fluff, there is. Unfortunately, that ant that you see on the right eventually came too close, and the butterfly was like, nope, I'm out. Now there are of course a lot of little rivers and stuff that you can see, and this it's a little hard to see, but if you just kind of look through, you can see further up the river and see these beautiful little waterfalls. It just makes this beautiful, beautiful sounds. I just thought this was kind of, pretty. Now there are snakes, and I couldn't tell you what kind, so, snakes. Now there is also some fish. As I mentioned, fishing is allowed here, and that's basically the only glimpse of a fish I got. There's also spiders. This one was really large and close to the trail. lot of bugs like dragonflies. This one was really, really red, so I thought that would be kind of cool to get a video of it. It of course left when I was out there. Now, if you choose not to go to the Adams Fall loop, you can go on the outside of the falls instead of going to the falls themselves. And it looks a little more like this. Nice, very pretty area. And I did this on the return trip rather than on the way in. Now, of course, you're going to want to watch your step. There's definitely horse poop here and there just from people riding horses. Go figure. But it is a very pretty hike either way. Now, I only went maybe about 4 miles each way because I was running out of time. I didn't want to have to hike back in the dark. So you can probably go quite a bit further if you're planning to spend all day. Bring some food with you, bring plenty of water. Like I said, you probably shouldn't be drinking out of the river, so make sure you are prepared. Now, thanks again for watching. Please do subscribe if you'd like to see more travel videos, mostly hikes and stuff like that around the Colorado area. Yeah, it's great to have you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions for places to be or things to do differently with the videos or anything like that, please let me know in the comments below.